Welcome everyone. This is Working with Taxpayers 101. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Carmen. I'm the new Community Impact Manager at United Way. I still say new, but I've been working with the team for almost 9 months now. But this is going to be my first year as the VITA coordinator. We've already started planning a lot of the trainings and materials that you're going to use. But we wanted to have this first meeting just to share a little bit about what the program is, answer any basic questions about this volunteer experience. And this is mostly for people who have never volunteered before, but we always welcome volunteers from previous years. They can always talk about their experience and their knowledge as tax preparers. So yeah, with that, we'll start. So this is the agenda for today. We'll give you a brief introduction to the Free Community Tax Service. We're going to talk about volunteer expectations, timeline, the roles. We're gonna talk about building trust and confidentiality. We're gonna talk about general operating procedures, and we're going to talk about the volunteer standards of conduct and quality site requirements. And we're also going to talk about the next steps in your training process. So, what is the free community tax service? Give me 1 second. I'm going to move my screen. Okay. So, this program is in partnership with the IRS. It's also known as VITA, which stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. We, as United Way of South Central Indiana, lead this partnership with the IRS, and we help organize volunteering in 7 sites. We serve Monroe County, Owen, and Brown. And the main focus of this program is to help low and moderate income residents file their federal and state tax returns for free. We also try to focus on helping residents claim valuable credits like the earned income tax credit, and other credits that they're eligible for. In the previous years, we've have really successful tax seasons. Last year, we filed around 851 returns. We help people save more than $200,000 in preparation fees. As you know, the services are usually pretty expensive, and most people can't afford to pay for a private tax preparer. So this service is essential for a lot of people. And year to year, we have clients coming back to our sites. We've been serving them for 3 to 5 years or even more. So this is a service that really involves the community and helps us create relationships with both the volunteers and the clients that come to our sites. Last year, we also helped people bring back more than $1 million through their credits. And you can see here on the right some of the information from last year, how many returns we filed from people who were below the poverty line, how many people were eligible for the earned income tax credit, and as you can see here, most of our clients are people who are older than 60 years old. So that's a good thing to know because we usually have clients that come back every year and they really need this service. And with the technological opportunities and softwares that we have now, it becomes more difficult for some of the communities to file their taxes or access these other resources that are not as user-friendly. And as you know, filing taxes is not that easy. If you have done your taxes in the past, you know it's complicated and burdensome, but with the help of so many volunteers and the free trainings that we get and the software provided by the IRS, we can make this a lot easier for a lot of people who really need this service and benefit from it. So most people who filed their taxes with us, when we interview them, they usually say that they use their refunds for um, things like food and clothing. They use it to pay bills. They use it to pay their rent. Sometimes they use it to make repairs at home. They use it to pay their mortgage, their cars, transportation. So, as you can see, these are very basic needs. This service really makes a difference in people's lives if they don't have the capacity to save money throughout the year, being able to access these credits or to get a refund really provides an opportunity for them to cover these basic needs that would have been more difficult to cover in different circumstances. So this year, who is eligible to come to our tax sites? Anyone whose income was less than $67,000 in 2025. There are other free products at the IRS that are free for people who earn more than this amount. This year, we had some changes. Direct File, which was website that people could use for free is no longer going to be working. But as far as we understand, Free File is still up and running. So we'll also confirm that information with the IRS and let you know. But as far as we know right now, Free File is still working. So in terms of volunteer expectations, timeline, and roles, um, we begin studying and taking certification tests over the winter break, so December through January. You will receive from us a guide on how to get certified and where to find all the information that you need. This guide is ready, but before we had this training, the site where you get certified wasn't ready yet. The IRS was a little bit delayed with this, so we didn't want to send you the information beforehand before it was available for everyone. But since December 15th, it's been working properly. You can access it and get your certifications. You can check out the tests and all the information that you will need. So we'll send you that guide tomorrow with all the information. It'll have the links to the websites that you need, the links to the updated resources, the dates for the next trainings, and it'll answer most of your questions. And I can also show you the guide in a little bit, maybe after our presentation, but I'll go over some of the details in this presentation. So we also expect volunteers to volunteer at least once a week during tax season for about 4 hours each session. However, we're flexible if something comes up or you're unable to volunteer on a certain date, or someone, for example, was telling me that they have jury duty in February. So if there's something, please communicate with us, let us know, talk to your site coordinator, talk to me, and we'll be able to figure something out. But it's always important to maintain that communication. We also begin setting up the site 15 minutes earlier. So when the clients start coming, we already have everything ready to start taking appointments and um, to have our spaces set up with all the resources and security protocols that we need. For next year, we are scheduled to open the sites on the week of January 26th. And most sites are going to be open until April 14th. We don't do taxes on April 15th, which is the deadline. Most sites close a little bit earlier, maybe the week before, maybe a couple days before. But just so you know, we mostly work through April 14th. So these are the different roles and responsibilities. You all should have seen this document already. You filled out a registration form and mentioned which one of these roles you'd like to cover in your site. So you probably already have a brief idea, but we're gonna walk you through every one of them. So the first one is the intake specialist. The intake specialist welcome taxpayers to the site. They ensure that taxpayers have the appropriate documents. In most cases, when we are not able to help someone, it's because they didn't bring the whole package of documents that they needed to have, or their IDs, or something that's relevant for the tax preparation. And they usually know. When they make their appointment, they get a list of the things that they need to bring. So hopefully we won't have any situations like that, but it's the role of the intake specialist to make sure that everyone has their appropriate documents. They also assist taxpayers in filling out the intake and interview forms, and they help assign taxpayers to the appropriate preparers. So, depending on the availability and the amount of volunteers, the intake specialists will help taxpayers go to an appropriate person to help them filing their taxes. Then we have the certified tax preparers. They review the intake form for completeness. They interview the taxpayers for accuracy, and they use the IRS software to enter information. So this is important. You're not doing taxes by hand. We do have a software provided by the IRS that we have been using for a few years now, and you will also receive a training on how to use the software. We have a training scheduled for January next year, and I'll share the dates and information for that later. But that's a really useful course because it walks you through both the technicalities of the software, but also some of the questions that you're going to see in your certification tests and other information that you will need. They also print and review the tax forms, and the certified tax preparers review other preparers' work. We also have the lead tax preparers. They cover the same duties as the certified tax preparers, but also assist in training new preparers. We have a lot of new volunteers this year, so always feel free to talk to your lead tax preparers, to your site coordinator. You can reach out to me too if you have any questions. But people with more experience will be available at the site to help you train for your first year. They also have additional duties that are assigned by the site coordinator and may serve as a backup site coordinator in case anything happens and they need someone there at the site. So the site coordinators oversee all site operations. They make sure that the site is running efficiently, that they're always available for questions from tax preparers. They review all the returns at the end of the shift, and they submit them to the IRS. So after the shift is done, the site coordinator stays for a little bit longer, and they make sure that all the returns are correct, and they press submit on the software. They also follow up with submitted returns to ensure acceptance. We can see that on our end on the software. And they also communicate with me. So any problems that you have at the site, any needs, if you need materials, or if you have any questions, usually the site coordinator will be the person communicating with the United Way team to coordinate or solve any problems that may arise. Um, are there any questions so far before I move on to the next section? And I don't see the chat. You can also write questions in the chat. All right. I don't see anything right now. But if you have questions, you can raise your hand on Zoom and I'll make sure to answer any doubts. All right. So the next section is building trust and confidentiality. So the integrity of the volunteer income tax assistance program depends on maintaining public trust. This is a program that has existed for many, many years. It works basically with volunteers all over the country, and our sites need to meet certain standards, and they also need to be secure enough for the public to trust our volunteers and come back to our sites and use the service. So all taxpayers using VITA services should be confident that they are receiving accurate return preparation and quality service. Okay, so this is a question for the group. I know it's 6 p.m. and most people don't want to talk. They're tired of after work or class. So I'll let you answer in the chat. We have two questions. What makes people trust you? And what do other people do that makes you trust them? You can answer either of them in the chat and I'll read your answers. And if someone wants to open their mic and talk about any of these two questions, you're also free to do that. All right, so we have some answers. Being 100% transparent, listening with full attention, being candid to them, genuine conversations, introducing yourself and listening to them, being nice and respectful, having accurate answers. Of course, yeah, these are all great answers. We do need all of those, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. Being able to criticize. Do you want to elaborate on that? All right, being transparent. Good. All right, thank you for answering the questions. Okay, yeah. So our main tax hero attributes are confidence, professionalism, and courtesy. Um, and well, this question is also for you, but I know we're all tired, so we're only gonna answer the second one. What are some things not to do? What do you think are some things that we shouldn't do when we're volunteering and dealing with taxpayers? You can also answer in the chat or raise your hand or open your mic. All right. Try to rush someone through. Do not lie. Do not promise the refund amount until after it's been confirmed. Yeah. Being impatient. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering, and you're absolutely correct. Let's see. I think we have one more. Avoids evading policy. Yep, that's a good one. We're going to talk about it. So, professionalism. We want to be respectful. We want to stay calm. We already discussed this. Taxes are a stressful time for some people. In my personal experience, I moved to the US like 3 years ago, and my first 2 years I got fined because I was doing something wrong. So it is a stressful time. Not everyone understands the process very well. So we want to be as assertive and respectful as we can to help people walk through this stressful process. We also want to respect taxpayers' privacy. We don't want to ask them more details than we need, but we also don't want to be afraid to ask clarifying questions. With confidentiality, it's critical to keep the entire interaction confidential. So remember that you're dealing with very private and personal information, you're handling sensitive data. So make sure that you're using the phone, you keep a low voice, make sure to cover up documents that they're not exposed to anyone walking by. Don't share details of the client stories. So after you volunteer, make sure that you don't go tell your friends or your family about the cases that you're seeing or personal information from someone who you helped during the day. Sensitive issues. So please refrain from discussing politics or sensitive issues with anyone at the tax site, including taxpayers, even if prompted. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Yeah, so three tips for every successful tax hero. Number one, ask a lot of questions, especially if this is your first year. Don't be afraid to ask. The IRS provides very detailed guides and resources that you can use throughout this process, but also you have a lot of people who are available at the sites and available over the phone or by email to answer any questions you have either in the training process or when you're volunteering at the sites. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, always try to explain your reasoning. And three, maintain quality reviews. So with the quality reviews, the tax preparers are always going to have someone else reviewing the taxes they filed. It will be either another volunteer, another tax preparer, or it'll be the site coordinator. So the tax returns will always be reviewed by at least two people at the site. So now we're going to talk about the volunteer standards of conduct. There are moments where volunteers face ethical issues which arise in unexpected situations, and they usually require quick decisions and good judgment. The IRS has another very detailed document that talks about the standards of conduct. They were developed specifically for the free tax preparation operations, and volunteers must agree to the standards prior to working in a VITA TCE free return preparation site. So when you get certified, you will also be able to access the volunteer standards of conduct certification, and you will have to sign that and agree to that before you start volunteering. So we also have quality site requirements. Every site has to comply with all of these things. Um, Volunteers need to be certified. We need to have an intake and interview process. We also need to have a quality review process. We need to confirm photo IDs and taxpayer IDs from every person that we're helping. We need to keep up with the reference materials. As you know, many things change throughout the year. Things might change while you're volunteering. So we, as United Way, always put all the information on our website. We keep all the resources there for you to access. But we also get notifications from the IRS, and we share those with the site coordinators, and the site coordinators share them or explain them to all the volunteers. We also have volunteer agreements that need to be signed and on site. These are managed by the site coordinators, but every day that the site is operating, they need to have the volunteer agreements in hand. So you'll see more information about this on the volunteer guide. You'll be able to sign the volunteer agreement, and before you start volunteering, make sure to print the agreement and bring it to the site on your first day. We also want to do timely filings. We have civil rights that need to be displayed at the site. We need to have a site identification number. That one is provided by us, and it's usually also handled by the site coordinators. Electronic filing identification number, and as I mentioned, security, confidentiality, and that's not just about how you handle private information, but also the steps that we take to ensure that all the information is private. So, for example, if we're using equipment from a library, for example, their computers or their printers, making sure that they have the right protections and security measurements to guarantee that no one will be able to access the software or any personal information from our taxpayers. Do not accept payments or solicit donations or accept refund payments for federal or state tax return preparation. Do not solicit business from taxpayers you assist or use the knowledge gained about them, their information for any direct or indirect personal benefit for yourself or any other specific individuals. Do not knowingly prepare false returns. So if someone asks you to lie on their tax return, please do not do that. We can always tell them that they don't need to file with us if they decide that they're not happy with the return that we prepared or they disagree with any of your opinions, and we already went through the process of verifying this with the site coordinator and having someone else review this and reviewing their previous information. We can always tell them that they can go somewhere else and file their taxes either with different organization or business or do it on their own, but please do not prepare false returns. Also, do not engage in criminal conduct or any other conduct deemed to have a negative effect on the VITA TCU programs, and treat all taxpayers in a professional, courteous, and respectful manner. All right. So this is a question for the group, and in this one, I will ask you to open your mics or raise your hand. So we have this case. You finish a difficult return for Millie, who has self-employment income, several expenses, and very few records. In addition, her son turned 25 and moved out early in the year. She owes the IRS about $50. After you carefully explain the return, Millie sputters. You don't know what you're doing. I always get a refund. My neighbor is self-employed and she got $1,900 back. What should you do? Does anyone want to answer this question?
I would take it. Well, I'd start with saying, well, I don't know the details of your neighbor's returns, and there could be a lot of things that make it different. Uh, However, if you doubt the accuracy of this, you're free to take all the materials here and bring them to anyone else to review them and see if there were any mistakes. And if you'd like, we can also walk through them and make sure we didn't miss anything.
Awesome. That's exactly what you need to do. And the first point was good. Every case is going to be different. So if people compare to someone else, please tell them that every taxpayer has a different situation. They have different documents. And another important thing to note is that if they're returning clients, so they have filed their taxes with us before, we can see their records. So we can always go back to their previous year's returns and compare, see if there's anything different. And as Casey said, we can review the whole return with them, the current one, and see if there's any discrepancies or any errors or something. But they always have the freedom to take the return that we prepared. They don't need to submit it with us, but we can print the documents and um, give them the whole package and they can go somewhere else as well. Anyone else? Casey did a great job. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So, as you're working with a taxpayer, Cheryl, she starts trying to engage you in a conversation about politics. Why do we have to file these taxes anyway? What's the government ever done for us? She asks. Later on, another taxpayer, Josh, starts talking to you about how the government lets corporations pay almost nothing in taxes. I don't know how our government lets these billionaires get away with it, Josh exclaims. What should you do? Does anyone want to answer this question? You can open your mics, or you can also write it on the chat.
Mostly, I guess we just let them know that we are not here to engage in politics, that we're not supposed to do that.
Right, yeah. And there are many ways that we can be polite about it and redirect the conversation. We can say, oh, we have a lot of appointments today and we really need to get back on topic because we can't spend that much time on other topics. So you try to redirect the conversation to the main topic, which is their tax return. You can just not engage. If they make a comment, you can just make a gentle nod or make any reaction that you want, but don't engage in the conversation. Just move on to whatever you were discussing with them. And you can always just say, why don't we get back on topic? But just try to be polite, try to be empathic with people and understand where they're coming from, but also try not to engage with these conversations. All right. I don't know if there's anything in the chat. I think not. All right. So we're almost done with our training. There are still some things I'd like to go over with tonight. As I mentioned, we're going to have a kickoff meeting in January. Sorry, I have something in the chat. Good. Someone wrote on the chat, the government, how many laws? And currently, I do not get into policies. I am here. I am just here to assist you. Exactly. So you can just say that you're volunteering, you're just here to help them. You don't need to engage in those conversations or talk about politics. All right. Be assertive about it, be polite, be honest, and that's it. So for the kickoff meeting, we're going to have a review training and certification training with a professor from Ivy Tech. She's been helping us for many years with this training. I've heard wonderful things about it. As I said, this is my first year, so I haven't attended the training yet, but the training will cover some of the technical aspects of the program. It will go over some of the questions that you'll see in the tests and help you answer in the best way. Tomorrow, when we send you the guide, you'll see that most of these tests are open book. So you can take as much time as you need. You can review all the documents and resources that you have. You can take notes. You can create your own resources to go through these trainings because, as we said, they can be a little bit long, they can be a little bit complicated, but you have so many good resources that are available for you that it won't be difficult to do it. And this training is also a great opportunity to meet your site coordinators and if you have any questions or anything related to the process, you can always email me. Here's my email. I'll also share this presentation with you all with the training guide and the recording of this session in case you want to rewatch or share it with one of the other volunteers. So this is the first meeting, the volunteer kickoff meeting, but after that, we're gonna have the one with the person from Ivy Tech. And here's the information for both. So the second meeting will be on January 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a bit of a longer training, but like I said, this person is very experienced, very knowledgeable. They're going to walk you through a lot of the details that you probably won't see during your training by reading materials. You'll talk more about like real life experiences, and you'll talk about things that or cases that the volunteers and tax preparers have seen in previous years. So it's a great resource, and I really encourage everyone to attend. The training is in person, but we will record all of these sessions. So technically, in person trainings, we only have two. They're both in January. You have the dates right here. And we'll also send out the step-by-step training guide that I mentioned that walks you through the whole certification process, where to go, what websites, how to access them, how to create accounts. It talks about the trainings too. It gives you more detail on the roles and many of the other things that you're going to need as volunteer. So please read that document. If you have any questions about it or are struggling with the training or getting certified, please let me know. I am in contact with a representative from the IRS. So anything that we don't know, we can ask them and we'll get that information to you as soon as possible. Same for you as volunteers. If there's anything that you don't know, please feel free and confident enough to say that you don't have the answer right now, but that you will ask someone with more experience. And that someone with more experience can either be your site coordinator or a more advanced preparer, or you can call me and we can get that information. But don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something. As we said, this is a difficult process. There are many things to consider, so it's always good to know that there's someone else that has your back and that can help you throughout this process. So we have set January 23rd as the due date to get your certifications. As I mentioned, these are all at your own pace. You'll see the instructions on the guide. So you'll have from now until January 23rd to get that certification, and then you'll print your certification and bring it with you to the site. But we'll be in communication. We'll also ask you to fill out a Google form saying that you already completed this, but you'll see all that information in the guide. I will show you the guide before we finish, but let me see. I think I have some questions in the chat. Okay, so one of the questions is where the meetings will be. The first meeting will probably be at one of the libraries. I will send you more information about it once we have reserved the space, but they're both going to have Zoom options, and we're going to record both sessions. So if you're unavailable, um, on any of those dates, you can always go back to our website and you'll be able to access the recordings. And we'll also make sure to send everyone the link in case they need to review any of the things or go back to any of the topics we discussed. And another question is, will we need to go to the testing site to test? The test can be done fully online. You will find the information about the website on the volunteer guide. Someone asked, is the test through Lincoln Learn? Yes. So you'll find all the information regarding Lincoln Learn in your guide. Sometimes these programs or websites are a little bit difficult to navigate, so we made sure to write very specific instructions for you. But if you have any questions, you can always email me or email Jennifer, who has been in contact with you all, and we'll make sure to answer as soon as possible. So that's what I had in my presentation. Before we close for today, I'll briefly show you the guide. Let me just go back to my documents. And I'll share my screen again. Okay, so as I mentioned, you will receive this guide tomorrow with the recording of this session and the presentation. This guide has the description of every role. It has the step-by-step to enroll and to find the resources. So as you can see here, we have the registration form. We have the information for Lincoln Learn, how to access it. We have certification resources. So the IRS, like I said, provides very detailed guides. Um, we have different publications that have information on all of these things. We put in parentheses here who needs to read those and get certified on those. So you can find all that information in this document. We put some reminders for you, for example, that you're not required or expected to memorize all the information. You can always use these materials as resources. The exams are open notes and they're not timed. We put all the information for the trainings here and an RSVP form. So even if this first training already happened, please respond to that so that we can make sure that we have enough space and materials for everyone at the other two trainings. You have more information here. The first training, like I said, will be over Zoom, and the second one will be at Ivy Tech, but it'll also have a Zoom option. So then it talks about the different processes and certifications that you need, like the one I mentioned, the volunteer standards of conduct, the intake interviews, quality review exam, etc. You'll find very detailed instructions here for that. And once you have completed the exams, you can fill out this Google form, and that way we will know who has completed their certifications or not. It's also important to mention that if for some reason you are not able to complete the certification by the deadline, please don't get discouraged. Just email me and we'll figure out a way to work on that and get you your certification. But we do need to know that the volunteers that are starting on the first week, on the first day, are ready and fully certified to help people out. So you will also be using the TaxLayer Practice Lab site. There's an access code. We put it right here for you to access. Um, Many other resources to train. And for people who are volunteering at City Hall, they usually do another certification, which is for over the phone interpretation. That's our only bilingual site. So we do need volunteers to get certified on that because most people will either need help making an appointment and they will call in Spanish or any other language, and you will need to connect to an over-the-phone interpreter to schedule the meeting or to help them file their taxes. So it's important to have the certification. And you'll find the agreement forms and all the information that you need right here. And finally, on the last page, I added this page for your own records. You can write your username and passwords here. If you're a returning volunteer, you will need your password. So it's important to save it if you're coming back next year. So I'll leave you this page here so that you can write them down and save them either for this year when or for this tax season whenever you need to use the sites, or for next year if you're planning to return and volunteer again and need to access the platforms. All right, that's all I had for you today. Are there any other questions? All right, I don't think we have any questions in the chat or yeah. So if there are no more questions, we'll make sure to send you all the information tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining this meeting. We really appreciate your effort and your availability to volunteer in this program. It really means a lot for us and the people that we serve. We're really excited to share with all of you, especially with the people who are joining us for the first time. So thank you so much. Be on the lookout for our email tomorrow. We'll make sure to get all those resources to you so that you can start training and preparing for the tests as soon as possible. And feel free to email me or call me if you have any questions. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Good night.